Converted man here. Well, 2 years ago I made a video called Pascal's Baby, but Grr is getting all the fame and glory because he did his own version and like he got attention and I didn't. It's not fair. Anyways, I don't care. All right, so this guy right here, this gentleman, the Christian Apologist, is responding to him. Not me, but I want to play. I want to play too. So I'm going to play and I'm going to go over this video. And, I'm going to point out any logical fallacies, if there are any. And I'm going to comment on it. And, we'll see how that goes. All right. Okay, let's play this.
We have another video from our atheist friend Grr
I want to be his friend.
In this video, he's trying to say that since the road to hell is broad and many will go, and the other to heaven is narrow and only a few will make it, why are Christians pro-life instead of pro-choice, since the killing of aborted babies only guarantees their salvation? Let us respond to this. Stay tuned. So our atheist friend at Grr has made a video on YouTube labeled "A Question for Pro-Life Christians -Atheists." Now, in this video, he talks about the Bible saying that many will go to hell and a few will make it to heaven, basically is what he's trying to say in a nutshell. Now, his claim is that Christians shouldn't be pro-life but pro-choice, since it does guarantee the baby's salvation. His question is stated like this, and I quote, "If a soul is born into this world, are the odds of it going to hell greater than the odds of it going to heaven?" End quote. He proceeds to say that he wants the Christian's opinion on all these kinds of matters. So here's my opinion. First off, my opinion doesn't matter.
All right, now, this is an odd place to pause, but I would say that, yes, it does. I want to understand people's ideas, and I want to understand why they hold those ideas. And the thing is, you're gonna say something in a moment here that is still your opinion. You wouldn't view it that way, but it is.
I am not the creator and the sustainer of life. God is. But for the sake of argument, I'm going to agree with what he says.
Okay. So yeah, the sustainer of life, the ultimate arbiter, whatever. Okay, I'm not God, so I don't. My opinion doesn't really matter. Only God's is. But that's an opinion you have about God, that God is that thing, right? So, but it could still be true on top of that, but you can't get out of it being an opinion. Not that it's really that big of a deal. I really don't. I don't know why I'm making a point about it, but I just wanted to. I don't know. It's just interesting.
I mean, that is true.
Also, turn down your music.
But he then says, statistically speaking, since the odds of a person going to hell is greater than going to heaven, would it not be better for the baby to be murdered and to guarantee their salvation rather than to live and the person grow up and choose either to follow Jesus or not to follow Jesus, risking going to hell? Okay, now first off, let me just get this straight, sir. Is what you're claiming is that your opinion is, if the Bible is true, it's better to kill innocent children and human beings rather than allowing them to live, so that way they can either choose to follow Christ or choose not to.
Okay, here's an assumption. You're assuming that there is an actual choice that can be made here. That assumes a whole lot about humans. Choice is possible if there's two alternatives or more that are clearly defined and have been explained to you. So the person that grows up in some place that is devoid or of Christianity or has very little contact with it does not have any choice in regards to Christ whatsoever. They cannot choose an option that they are unaware of. Now, maybe you have some theology to cover such circumstances, but the point still is that person wouldn't have a choice to choose Christ or not because they don't know what Christ even is, or who he is, or what he did, etc. They've never heard of it. So they have no choice in that sense. Then you have the I, as a skeptic, looking at this book of mythology, consider it to be, well, just a different book in all the other books of mythology. The Bible is no more real than any of the other so-called holy books or scriptures or writings out there to me. So I don't have a choice to just ignore my critical thinking and my skepticism and my logic and throw that out the window to just say, well, I guess I'll believe in this one and I'll just pick one at random, which, I mean, as far as I could tell, that would be just as good as anything else. And maybe you could say, well, you narrow it down by the ones that make a claim that's existential in nature. That if they're right, you get the good thing, and if they're wrong, then you're gonna get screwed over. Then that narrows it down somewhat, but it doesn't narrow it down all the way. You know, so you still don't know that you're picking the right one or making the right choice. And even if you did pick Christianity, you still don't know that you picked the right version of Christianity, because there's at least two denominations who make unique claims in Christianity that other denominations do not make. The Church of Christ makes the claim that you have to be baptized in full immersion, sometimes using certain phrasing. The Pentecostals have a different sort of claim in regards to baptism, and they have the claim that you have to speak in tongues or you don't have the Holy Spirit, which then means if you don't have the Holy Spirit, well, I guess you're not saved. So you have to do this. So if either of those is right and I don't pick those because I'm unaware which choice is the correct choice, then what choice did I really have? It's a false idea that there is indeed a choice going on. But let's not conflate the word choice here. Let's not equivocate on this word and think that it means what you think it means in every case. The pro-life, pro-choice is framed in that way as a classical framework, but that it's the titles and names have changed over time. But that's a choice to terminate or not to terminate a pregnancy, and that is a actual choice that you actually know has an actual consequence to it. Whereas with religion, you don't necessarily know that, so the two are not equivalent.
So right off the bat, you're an atheist that's pro-choice, yet you don't think that every human should have a choice? How does that make sense?
So see, there's the potential equivocation. So choice of the human to say no to that life is, and then but doesn't the person get a choice in life? Well, that's a different thing. There is a difference. Plus, when considering eternal salvation, eternal happiness and awesomeness, and the thing that heaven is portrayed as, although you could argue what heaven is actually portrayed in the Bible. Is it just worshiping Yahweh all the time, or is it actually a good place to be, or whatever? I don't know. Uh, but if the innocent, whatever that is, whatever age that is, whether it's babies or up to a certain age or whatever, if that person is guaranteed to have a eternal bliss, then negating all choices that they might make later in life is preferable to giving them any choice at all, because you're guaranteeing an eternal bliss. You are guaranteeing them to have this wonderful outcome. And so at that point, it overwhelms your desire for people to have choices in the first place, perhaps. You say, in fact, maybe it shouldn't even be a choice. The moment that somebody is pregnant, we have to kill that thing, because that ensures the destination of paradise. In fact, we could go a step further with it in simply automating the whole thing. Just get sperm and eggs and have them in artificial wombs being combined together. If life starts at conception, then the moment the egg and the sperm meet, then that's life. You can terminate it immediately. Just zap it with the electricity or something, and repeat. And you could kill thousands upon thousands within mere minutes and be sending souls to heaven in mass production. And all you have to do then is, pay people to donate. Or in fact, well, some people might even do it for free as far as the guys. The women donating sperm is a little bit more of a complicated process, and they actually get paid more for it because it's a more complicated process. But nonetheless, that's the only part that you have to ensure is kept going, and you would be doing the ultimate good, because you'd be ensuring that in mass quantity souls are being produced and sent directly to heaven, and that's a better place than potential hell. So forget about the choice. Choices is not relevant. There is a weight as well. Even if the choice is very, very important to me, it's not like you can't say, but certain choices are more important than other choices, or sometimes it's okay to negate choices in certain circumstances because the outcome is so grim. So I have the choice to continue driving, although it says bridge out up ahead. I have the choice to keep driving, but if I make that choice, I'm going off into air, and whatever happens after gravity takes over happens, and that's not a good outcome, more than likely. So, hey, Christian Apologist is on. All right, amazing. So a more okay. So let me read that because I want to interact. So a moral right is the ability to kill humans. Yet atheists claim that when God kills people, he's immoral. So which is it? Okay, well that's a good question. I forgot what I was saying before, so I'll address this. So, uh, is it a moral right to kill humans? I don't know that that is the case, because when you say atheist claim, that's a broad sweeping brush. Every atheist has different viewpoints. I can only tell you mine. Um, I am reconsidering my stance on abortion, actually, as I make this. So I don't know that it's immoral or has anything to do with morals. In that sense, I think that under certain circumstances, it is permissible to end life, uh, but what those circumstances are has to be well defined. I don't. I think that the morals there are about uh, doing the least harm to the least amount of people possible. So if you knew for 100% certainty that the person was just going to suffer, and then it would just seem to be the right choice to make to end that life. Uh, when God kills people, it's immoral. Well, God has more power than I do, supposedly. I don't have that many choices when it comes to what I want to do in reality. I don't have the ability to manipulate the very fabric of reality itself. So if I did, then I could come up with, I'm sure, given enough time and thought, if I could manipulate the very fabric of reality, I could just simply make it that that person didn't get pregnant in the first place, perhaps. If I knew that they were going to choose to end the life of their child, then maybe it's just make it so they don't get pregnant in the first place, so that it's not even an issue. Um, the various different killings of humans, say in the Christian Bible, assuming, of course, Christian apologists were going with the Christian God. Uh, there's plenty of other ways to go about this. Certainly, I mean, why destroy all this life, say in the Great Flood, if whether it's local or worldwide, whichever version you think is the case? Why do that? Why not just teleport them out somewhere else, away from anyone that they could harm. Just poof them out of existence. That's more humane than drowning somebody. Drowning is a terrible way to go. Simply make it so their atoms and molecules fly apart. I mean, that would, or that their brain just ceases to function. That would seem to be more humane than drowning them. So okay, if you want to kill for whatever reason because you can't think of a better way than to kill, well then at least do it in a more kinder way. So I think that that is questionable morality. So this is about nuance there. That given the options that a being with lots of powers would have versus me, I have limited ability. Doctors have limited abilities. Humans have limited abilities, and our technology is limited. So we don't have all the options that this being God supposedly has. So why choose this barbaric, stone people to death if they don't do X, Y, and Z? Well, can't you think of a better system than that? I mean, come on, aren't you God? I mean, can't you teach them how to rehabilitate people instead? I mean, that would seem more moral and just and righteous to me. And the whole point was they couldn't follow the laws anyways. If you're going to make them be difficult laws, might as well make them to be the most moral laws plausible possible. So the morality of God there would be given its abilities plus its choice to go with the thing makes it immoral. Um, so, well, I'm answering your question. Grr claims morality is good capability. What's your stand that? Well, my stand is I already made a video called Pascal's Baby. I made the same argument that Grr made. So it's a simple question: is really shows a good or bad thing? Stick to the subject. I was answering the question that you asked up here. At the time of the flood, God says, none were found righteous. Okay. All were evil. Do you believe in justice? Do you believe people break the law have to pay their crimes? So does God. Okay, so they're not righteous and they're all evil. Okay. And so it depends what justice is. What do we view that word to be? I don't view it as I don't think that justice means we give up on somebody. Especially if you have all these powers at your disposal. Can't you rehabilitate them? Can't you cure them of this evil, whatever that evil is? Can't you help them to not be evil? Aren't you God? You can't sit them down and talk them out of it. It just seems like that this God is very limited. But let's just say, okay, do they need to pay for their crime? Well, whatever crime that is. Well, in what way? To what level? Is the only answer death? That's the only answer possible? Can't we come up with something better? And if we do have to kill them because that's the only answer we can come up with, well, why kill them in such a horrible way? The people had 1,000 years. All the people lived to 1,000 years of age. I don't remember reading that in the Bible. I know that Adam and others lived to 900 years and other insane numbers that aren't possible. But I don't know that God gave them thousands of years. But that one person would have died off, and then so somebody else just started doing evil. Uh, and did God talk to them? Did he sit down with them? Did he counsel them? Did he explain to them what was going on? I thought God's patience was infinite. So people have free will. Oh, do they? Oh, God can't force them to do good. Well, but God hardened the heart of Pharaoh, so it seems that God can interfere with free will. Why is free will so suddenly important? And isn't it God? Can't you think of a way to talk somebody out of doing something that's bad if you're God? Hey, look, guy. Look, if you keep doing this, I'm gonna have to kill you. That's just how it goes, all right? Here's the reasons why you shouldn't do this beyond that I'm going to have to kill you. Here's the alternatives. Look at how good your life could be if you do it this way. God was with them. They had no, he tried getting them to stop what they're doing. They chose not to. Okay. Generation, not individually. Right. So the generation gets punished for the sins of the one that came before it. Maybe they did sin too, maybe not. Who knows? But your grandfather did X and X was illegal, so therefore you're going to go to jail. I don't consider that to be just. Okay. Now that I've responded to all those questions, hey, look, if you want to come and talk to me now, we can forget about talking about the whole genocide of baby thing and just talk about whatever. I'm fine with that. I don't care. If not, then I'll just keep going with my takedown of this video in response to it. I haven't even got to the logical fallacies yet and going over that. But I'd love to talk to you about this topic or other topics of your beliefs. If you have the time and energy to do that, you're welcome to join me. And there's the link right there. And if that doesn't work, I can send it to you in other ways. All right, give them a moment to decide. I can talk, but can't record right now. Can I record your voice? Well, if you get into StreamYard and you have a microphone, it will record you. You don't have to have a webcam or anything for it to do. I mean, I'm not using my webcam right now. Okay, now I have to respond to this question. Man, this is getting popular just because I guess the keywords helped or something. If your stance is God doesn't exist, how do you know God doesn't exist? Okay, well, it depends what God is, because I don't know necessarily what you mean by God, Matthew Johnson. Some gods don't exist due to paradox. They can't exist because of paradox. Any god that requires you to negate reality would not be a god that's possibly true. So if a god demands that 5 plus 5 is a billion, that god can't possibly exist in reality. So certain gods like that cannot exist. Other gods might be possible, probable, or even actual. It just depends. Oh, okay, got the guy in here. So let's. Certain gods like that cannot exist. Other gods might be. Okay, you have to turn off the video feed in the background there.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yes. Oops. Let's get the side by side. There we go. Okay. Hello. The Christian
How you doing
Apologist.
today?
Well, I'm doing great. Welcome to my thing. I did not expect you to show up, to be honest. I just saw that this Grr Mania posted on my video. He's like, "Hey, this guy responded to me." I'm like, "Oh, okay. I want to play too." And uh oh. Well, no, don't come back. Well, I'm guessing technical issues happened. Um. Oh, he's back. Okay.
Okay, I'm back. I'm back.
Okay. Technical issues, I guess. But yeah, so I didn't have any idea that you would see that I was doing anything about you. A lot of times I'm just ignored, so I figured I'd just So let me restart, if you will, and welcome you and say the thing I usually say off air, which is um, my goal is not to attack you, the person, but to attack ideas. And that because this is dealing with something that you hold near and dear, that it might seem like I'm attacking you, but that's not the case. So I just wanted to get that out there. Um,
No, you're good.
I'm a I'm a skeptic, and I love logic, and I like pointing out logical fallacies and talking about arguments pertaining to religion and beliefs in supernatural, paranormal, and things of that nature. So, welcome to my thing, and I was covering this particular video, this particular odd topic, but I'm happy to talk about anything. I'd love to ask you, questions about your beliefs and whatever, and I can do this response some other time, or maybe not at all if I get some answers here.
Hold on, I can't hear you real quick. Hold on.
Okay.
What happened here? Oh, now I got you. Now I got you. Okay, so I guess I don't know if you watched all the video I made with about Germania, the one that you're
Yes.
actually showing right now. I don't know if you watched the whole video, but
Yes, I usually I don't, but this time I did, and then I thought I can respond to this, so I, started to. And
so I guess my main question, basically to Germania, and I guess would be also to you is, with the scenario I gave about a guy named Steve, getting into an accident right after he becomes a Christian, everything else.
oh, okay. I
You're
hadn't.
saying that
Okay,
it's
no, I'm
okay.
sorry.
Well,
I
okay, but
misspoke.
in the video,
I haven't watched the entire video. I watched
okay.
some of it.
Well,
I'm sorry.
I'll
I
I'll try
misrepresented
to.
myself.
No, you're fine. So I'll try to break it down. Basically, what the scenario I gave was this. I said, let's say Steve was an atheist all his life, but he just became a Christian. Right after he becomes a Christian, he's in a car accident and he's put into a coma. He's no longer able to eat. He's no longer able to breathe on his own. He has a machine doing everything for him. But the doctor does say there's a 97% chance that he's going to make it. And Germania is his closest relative. And the doctor says, hey, you can pull the plug if you want to, but there's a 97% chance he'll make a full recovery. So, according to Germania, and I mean, obviously in your stance, it's more moral to pull the plug and let him die since you know that his eternal salvation will be guaranteed. But if you don't pull the plug, that means that he could convert to being an atheist again, and then he's damned. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
well, if I fully believe that he was saved and good to go, then I would pull the plug.
so you're saying that it's perfectly normal to kill a person as long as they're saved.
If I knew for certain that there was an afterlife and I knew that that person was going to go to heaven, then the most moral thing that we could hope to do, and you probably missed out, but I made this exaggerated scenario of that we could actually automate the process. We could get sperm and eggs and just fertilize them in mass quantities and kill them immediately after fertilization, so that we could just rapidly, speed the progress of sending souls to heaven. That would be the most
But
moral thing we could hope to
you
do.
do realize that that's almost the same stance as like Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler
Well,
had the idea of, hey, let me kill people because they are a problem with society. That was his stance. But you're
but he
saying,
didn't
let
he
me
didn't
kill
believe that
people.
they were going. He didn't believe they were going to heaven
No,
necessarily. I don't
no.
know
But
what
I'm
he
saying
believed,
it's
but
the same. What I'm saying
yeah.
is the
Well,
same ideology,
you
though.
actually you would be morally obliged to just save as many as possible, but then just probably extinct the human race because they're whoever's going to heaven is going to go to heaven, and the only thing you could do would be, again, to mass produce entities and destroy them so that you knew that they were going to heaven. And if you wound up going to hell, well, you created billions of souls that were sent to heaven, so you did the most moral thing possible that you could do.
Okay, but and I'm just asking for your opinion. So
yeah,
and I just want to know what kind of man you are. So you would be completely comfortable with grabbing all the babies you could find and all children under the account of accountability, putting them in the middle of town and just shooting them all in the head. Just get it over with.
Well, I think
you would be okay with that.
Well, I think that we could do better than that. I think you would just, like I said, you could automate the process so you didn't have to gather them.
No, I'm talking about like in this process.
Okay,
babies and children,
sure,
just shooting them in the head and getting it over with. Because I'm serious, and I mean, I don't know you. I mean, I'm hoping we can become friends because I mean, I have friends that are atheists. I don't have, it's whatever. People have their own beliefs, but that's borderline psychotic.
Yeah,
to sit there and say I can kill babies and children because you feel like you're doing something good for them. That's an act of evil.
Well, I agree, but I only agree due to I don't that I don't believe that people are going to go instantly to a heaven upon death. But if I did believe that children or whoever was going to go to heaven upon death, then I cannot find any flaw in the idea of in mass killing babies left and right. I think that would actually be the most moral thing to do, which is why I made the video I made, Pascal's Baby, in the first place. And then Grr did his own version. I don't know if he came up with it on his own or he heard mine or a combination thereof. Doesn't really matter. But yeah, it's the same argument. I'm making the same argument that the preferableness of heaven, and is better than the possibility of hell. So the most moral choice. I'm using Pascal's wager plus the age of accountability to make the argument. So the problem is not for me. The problem is for the theist to resolve this potential abomination here and say, how could you possibly say it's not okay to send all these souls to heaven?
Because everybody has a choice. People should have a choice.
And not everybody
that child should be able to grow up to make it. Everybody has choices.
But and even
everybody has choices. It doesn't matter which part of aspect of life.
Why is the choice? Why is the choice more important than eternal paradise? You're trying,
because the choice is what gives you the right to have to be like freely loved.
But so you're gonna go.
You can't have free love. Like love has to be freely given by definition.
But why does that matter more?
So to take away someone's choice.
Yeah.
Because choices matter. Because you have to either choose. But if somebody doesn't have a choice, then you really didn't gain anything there. If you didn't have a choice in the matter, you're not gaining anything. But if you have a choice, then you're gaining something. Like I can sit there and tell you, like, okay, like a woman. Let's just say I'm married, but let's just say I have a girlfriend. And if I say you don't have a choice but to love me, you don't have that choice. Well, does she really love me? Does she? I mean, because I'm telling her she has to, or do I say, it's your choice. You can either love me or you don't have to. And if she chooses to love me, then that's true love. But I think the word.
What I'm asking though is the choice of any given individual more important than an eternity of pleasure or an eternity of suffering? I mean,
but that's not for me to decide because I'm not God. I'm not.
Well, no, it's not for me to decide either. But
I'm saying I'm not the creator of life.
Right.
So if the creator of life says everyone gets a choice, then I have to go off of what the creator says. I can't go off of what I think. Well, like there's things in the Bible I can sit there and honestly tell you, like, I don't understand that. There's things in the
So
Bible I can say like, wow, was kind of harsh. But, of course, more when I go into more depth and I've looked into it and I've studied it and I've studied the Hebrew scripture and the Greek
mhm.
scripture, then I can figure out like, okay, well, this is what was really going on.
so
For
so
example, which I don't want to get into a whole different subject, but for example, like the whole, everyone's like, oh my God, God killed all the Canaanites. Well, first off, these Canaanites were burning their babies alive on a molten hot god. They were, having homosexual tendencies going on. They were having bestiality going on. They weren't good people. Now, the Bible does say that God says, well, destroy all the Canaanites. But or it actually says annihilate. So, everyone wants to take certain verses out of the Bible and they want to sit there and say, oh, well, he literally means I want to annihilate every single Canaanite. But we know that's not true because one of Jesus' disciples was a Canaanite. So how would that be possible if all of them were annihilated? It's the same thing as if you're playing sports and I say my team annihilated that team. Well, they
so
didn't kill them all.
let me try to formulate the potential answer you're giving for this conundrum that we've come up with. Is your answer that you're taught by the scriptures that you must give people choice, therefore you cannot in good conscience terminate anybody's life, at least deliberately, uh, because you're told that they must have a choice. Then is that
No,
correct?
you don't annihilate someone's life because they are made in the image of God. So basically, by you killing somebody, you are
Right.
killing the image of God.
Right. So essentially, the answer to this paradox or thought experiment, if I'm understanding you correctly, is that given this particular theology you hold, that um, you're not allowed to send them send them on their way to heaven, because well, you're just not allowed to do that. That's God's work, not your work. Of course, in the video of the Pascal's baby that I took down, I had it up and it went away. There it goes. Oops, did it again. That I say, well, we could just have an atheist do it, But at any rate, so you do have a solution. The solution seems like that theology says you're not allowed to kill people, and so whatever we might view as an ultimate good in regards to sending more souls to heaven, that's not really something that we're permitted or supposed to do according to theology. So that seems like a reasonable answer to this particular conundrum. Uh, but I am glad that you went through the thought experiment, because it is made. It's not necessarily made to be an unbeatable paradox or anything of that nature. I never made it with that intention at any rate. But I made it to try to get people to think and respond to this sort of conundrum, and to really say, how how is it that we're saying this is wrong, given X, Y, and Z, and I think you explained your position on that fairly decently. Although I see other potential issues, but yeah.
No, I do. I understand. And uh,
my video is a
me and
little bit different than Gur's, but at
yeah,
any rate,
seeing me and Gurr, we were going back and forth on YouTube, just texting, each other, on chatting each other. And the issue that he brought up, kind of like almost the same thing I said to you. He says, "Well, how come God murders?"
yeah,
And like I told him, I'm like, "Well, you got to look at it. There's a few. This is a big thing. I'm going to try to sum it up really small. So if I lose you, just let me know." So
uh-huh.
what I'm trying to get at is this: if every person born is a child of God, then we are His children. So, like a parent to his child, I can tell my parent to be home, my child to be home at a certain time, and they have to be. I can go get them and force them back into the house.
Hmm.
Now, if I try that with a stranger's kid, obviously I'm kidnapping and I'm going to go to jail for that.
Yeah,
So, if we go off and try to do that to, a baby or just any blowjo walking down the street, it's murder, it's kidnapping. You can't
right,
do those
right.
things. But if God can't murder because they're His children, and if Christianity is true, then nobody actually ever dies in God's way. It's either God calls them home or he doesn't. He just moves their location. He's not killing them. He's moving their location. So like when you were talking about the flood, he just moved their location. They're his children. He can do what he wants with them.
Well, okay, so there's some questions I have about that. Wow. Uh, so so God owns humanity.
I guess in a sense, I mean, I don't know what sense you're meaning it, but yeah, in a sense, yeah, he owns everything. We are his.
So we're God's property.
No, not property. We're his children. I wouldn't
Well,
consider my child my property.
Well, can God do anything with us it desires? Or
yeah, like he can call us home anytime he desires. Yes.
Right. So that's, I mean, I don't see why, but the isn't the problem that the people in the flood, they were all bad, right? So they weren't going
yes.
home. They were going to annihilation. I don't know if you believe in hell or whatever.
I do.
Okay.
No, they weren't going home, but he was moving their location.
Yeah, so
just like my child. I don't have to bring my child home.
Move them into hell. Couldn't you have moved them a little bit more gently, though? I mean,
could he? Yes. Now, see, that's a question that honestly I can't give you. Like, I can't tell you why God used a flood. I can't tell you why God just didn't snap his fingers and boom, they quit existing.
Yeah, like Thanos.
I don't,
or something.
Like, yeah, exactly, exactly like Thanos. Like, I really don't. I don't understand why that is. And like what I was telling you before, I'm like, there's things in the Bible, like things that he did. Like, I'm like, I don't know why he did it that way. But, I can honestly say I know why I don't know. It's because I'm finite. He's infinite. Well, his ways are much higher than mine. His thoughts are much higher than mine. So, I mean, I know he had a purpose because in my mind is God is all knowing. God is all powerful. And he's seen, before he even created the universe, he saw the beginning to the end. And so he knew that for some reason that flood was going to be the only way he could get his point across while sending his children into another location. Now, why
interesting euphemism to use, moving people to a different location?
Because that's all he's doing. If Christianity is true, we never die.
Well, I suppose you die here, but you don't die. You're not.
Yeah, spiritually.
You're not. Yeah. So you keep existing. It's just you're either existing and you're good to go, or you're existing and you wish you weren't. I suppose, but I don't. Then that brings, of course, problems that I have with the eternal reward and or eternal punishment that neither seem to be coherent as far as a way to dish out existence. That either I know that this person is going to do X and that's going to lead them to a state where for whatever reason they will eternally forever suffer, yet I'm going to allow that person to come into existence anyways. Like, why would you? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, it's like this. It's like, I know for a fact before I had kids, my kids were going to disobey me. I knew my kids were going to do wrong. I knew that before I even decided to have kids.
Mm-hmm.
But yet I wanted to have kids because I love them. Just because, okay, let's say for you, for instance, I'm just going to use you because I'm talking to you right now. So you're an atheist, and maybe, I hope you don't, but maybe you die an atheist. I don't know. But it doesn't mean that God didn't love you. It didn't mean that God didn't enjoy, like, some of the things you said, the things you did, the way you acted, the way you talked, the way you looked. It doesn't mean God didn't enjoy you. He might not have agreed with the way you lived your life, and he wished you would have came to know him. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't mean he ain't going to love you any less. He still loves them.
Yeah, but would you torture your child for all of infinity if it rejected your love?
Okay, well, this is a two-part question. For one, nowhere in the Bible does it say that people are tortured in hell. They're tormented. They're not tortured. There's a difference. tortured is basically hurting people, and
tormented. Yeah.
torment's different. See, because we can be tormented on earth. See, like my stress can torment me because it drives me crazy.
Right.
My
That's pretty
anxiety
bad.
can
That's
torment
torture.
me.
It's the same thing. It's just
No, torture is different. Like
equivalent.
Well, I mean, okay, so if you get caught in war, if they torture you, they're going to physically cause you harm.
Right.
Because they're trying to get a different reaction from you. But torment is completely different. Torment.
Yeah, but you're still causing distress for an unlimited amount of time, no matter what you want to call that.
Well, but see, you got to think of this too, though. People that are in hell, and this is a big misconception, even for Christians, people that are in hell don't want out of hell. They don't want out. Nowhere in the Bible, like the only parable it really gives is when Jesus went to hell, and one of the people that were down there saying, "Hey, please send down so and so to give me a drop of water on my tongue." Not once does he ask to get out of hell. He's not asking to get out.
I note that he doesn't get the water though.
Right, because he's not asking to get out though. He's still down there trying to bark orders, saying, "Hey, send so and so down here to me." Because what it is all hell is separation from God for all of eternity. Right.
Well, that's what hell is. I don't know how you would know that nobody wants out, but regardless, would you do whatever that is, whatever you want to call it, torment? Would you do that? Would you torment a child that said, "I don't love you anymore, Dad. I've never loved you, and I don't want to ever speak or see you again"? Would you then torment that child for the rest of time?
Okay. So here's my other second part to answer this question. Your question right here is, one, God isn't sending you to hell. Your sins are what's sending you to hell. It's like crime. If you go commit a crime, it's not the judge's sentences that put you in prison.
Okay, hold on. Would you do this? I answered your question.
I would not force someone to be with me for all of eternity. How's that? If somebody did not want to be with me, I would not force them to be with me. Because that's not loving.
Would you torment them forever?
He's not tormenting them. I'm not tormenting them. I'm saying I would not force you to be in my presence. That's what I'm saying. Hell is the absence of God.
God didn't make the area of hell?
Yes, for the demons, not for people.
Okay, so God didn't allow the people to go there?
No, he allows people to not be in his existence for all eternity. And that's what hell is. Heaven is in God's presence for all eternity. Hell is the absence of God's presence for all eternity. So if somebody does not like me,
and God does not want to be with me, though. How is it not God's fault? God made the entire system. It's still God's fault.
No, sin.
Moving it around.
Sin.
God made the system that allows for sin. So
you're basically saying that it's the law's fault that all these criminals go to prison.
Well, in a way, it is.
That's ridiculous.
We can change the laws.
That's ridiculous.
No,
you're saying that murderers, rapists, and thieves should be able to just do whatever and be fine.
I didn't say that. I said that we can change laws. God can't change its way, apparently, but it made this system because it couldn't help but make this system. But it's still its fault because it made the system.
Okay, so you're saying, okay, I'm just trying to understand here. So what you're trying to say is, it would be more loving for God to, like for you, for instance, you don't like God or you don't believe in God, whichever it is.
I don't believe in God in a general sense because the word God is so incoherent and I'm not really sure what it means. So I'm an atheist in that regard.
Well, let's just talk about the Christian God.
Yeah, Yahweh does not exist and cannot exist.
Okay, so how loving would it be for you that don't believe in him, don't want to be with him? And because if you wanted to be with him, you'd search for him now. So obviously you don't want to be with him.
It doesn't exist. It can't exist.
Okay, so you don't believe in him. You have a problem with him, it seems like.
No, I don't have a problem with it. It doesn't exist. I don't have any more problem with Yahweh than I do Jar Jar.
So how loving would it be for him to force you into his existence for all of eternity, although you don't want to be there?
Well, I don't know because I don't know if I want to be there or not. I haven't been given that option.
So you're more agnostic. If you don't know, that's agnostic.
No, I don't know what it would do because I don't think it is even a thing.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying. So if
But
it is
it
true,
doesn't matter. It's still going to. In fact, it doesn't. There's that verse in the Bible. The fence sitters are even worse than the ones that have picked a side. So I'm screwed no matter what. Plus, I'm an apostate, so I'm doubly screwed unless once saved, always saved. But I don't. But I don't know what God is like. But it made the system. It gets to do with me whatever I want, regardless of what I think, want, and desire. It doesn't matter. I don't have the ability to fight it, overthrow it, destroy it, etc.
but God can't change. He can't change
Yeah,
the system.
yeah. Well, then it's not really a very powerful God. Then
Sure, it is. That's like saying that God's not powerful because he can't make a married bachelor.
no, it could change the system to be more coherent. It can
It
change
is
the
coherent.
system. No, not the
It's
Christian
so
system is
coherent
incoherent.
that he sent his only son to be tortured and die. So how much more does God need to
That
do?
that's like stubbing. That's like God stubbing his toe. That's not. It's a brief moment of suffering that it ultimately knows is going to
Well,
end.
see,
And
my
also the fact that God will require blood. What does God need with blood? Isn't God God?
he
I
doesn't
mean,
need blood.
well, then he
The
doesn't need
Bible
it. Why
says
does he
that
need a sacrifice? Why does he need to kill his son? Why does he need to do any of that?
because the wages of sin is death.
But why is that? Because God decided that's the way it was,
No,
right?
because you have to rid it of evil. You have to rid it.
But
You have to
God
get
made
rid
that
of the evil.
system. It's ultimately, if God made everything, it's its fault. That's not what I'm saying. Is the system is flawed, therefore the God is flawed, therefore there's no reason to trust that God.
But
It's
the
an
system isn't
illogical
flawed.
being.
Like,
Of
once
course,
again, you're saying
do
that you
you know?
trust.
Do you know
You
what an ad volume is?
Yes, but what you're trying to
Okay.
say is that
Do you know
for
what a
every
appeal?
criminal that's out
No,
there,
I'm not saying anything about criminals. I'm focusing
yeah,
purely on Yahweh.
this is
Do you know what
Yahweh.
an appeal to bribe is?
Yes, but once
Okay, so
again,
those are logical fallacies,
if
correct?
sins are
Are those
crimes,
logical fallacies correct?
mm,
Is an ad valorem and or an appeal to bribe logical fallacies? Are those examples of logical fallacies?
see, that's for a total different conversation because we can get way deep into that.
Well, they are. I mean, I
But
can
what?
show you that they are. If you don't
But if you
know
get back,
logical fallacies.
but if you get
So
back,
does a logical being? Now I'm not a perfect being. I'm far from it. But I love logic and I want to use logic whenever possible. If I put you in a position where I am threatening you in some manner, that is an illogical argument. I'm not making a logical argument. I'm making an argument based on appeal to force, appeal to the cudgel. That's ad valorem. It's appeal to the cudgel, appeal to the stick. I am appealing to the threat and or implied threat for you to do X, Y, or Z, or not do X, Y, and Z, or else something bad that you don't want to happen will happen. That's illogical. A logical being that is not irrational like us humans would never appeal to a threat, never offer a bribe, and never do any other logical fallacy because incapable of doing it. Yet Yahweh, that is said to be a perfectly logical being, produces more than those fallacies, but those two fallacies are good enough. Ad valorem, hell, and an appeal to reward, heaven. That's makes it illogical. That makes it impossible for it to exist.
so you're saying the law is completely illogical.
No, I didn't say that at
Why
all.
not? Why not? Why?
I
What
didn't
makes
say
that
that at
different?
all.
What
The
makes that
law,
any
now you're
different?
talking about the law, you're talking about human concepts, right?
I'm talking about in general. Are you saying that
Oh,
morality
okay.
is not
Well,
objective?
are you saying law as in laws of physics or laws as in stop at the red light?
I'm talking about stop at the red light.
Okay. Laws are flexible. We can decide upon them as a society, right? We could theoretically, hypothetically vote out laws that exist and in new laws we can refine them. And there's laws on the book that don't make any sense. For example, in Texas, it's illegal to put an ice cream cone in your back pocket because once upon a time people did that to try to kidnap horses. It's still on the books. It shouldn't be. We don't need that, so we could vote to get rid of that. Now, there's laws against, say, doing drugs. Well, doing drugs, if we figured out a way to make all drugs legal, but put some sort of stipulations around that and some programs into place, we could actually make it so that the few people that would want to take destroying drugs of that nature would have to go through some program in order to gain the drug, but then by making it legal, we get rid of all the problems associated with having it be illegal, and thus we make the system a little bit better rather than prisons that have absolutely no effectiveness at all. We could mimic other jails like I want to say New Zealand, and I can't remember the other one off the top of my head. But these prisons they don't even look like prisons, and the return rate is less than 1.01%. So our system is certainly not as good as it could be, and we could make it far better. But there's money to be made in the jail system the way it is, so it's flawed, and I recognize it's flawed. Other people do as well, but it's hard to change it. But we could maybe change it, and certainly we could
But
improve it.
but to make it brief, if somebody murders somebody out of cold blood, do they deserve justice?
They deserve, yes, they deserve to undergo a process to which we prove beyond a
Hold
reasonable
on,
doubt.
hold on. So yes, they deserve justice. It
Right,
doesn't
but
matter the process.
what
Yes,
that
they deserve justice.
yes, and what justice means to me is probably very different than what it means to you, because justice is not just putting that person necessarily behind bars per se. It is rehabilitating that person. Something went wrong in their brain for them to do that. We got to get to that. We got to figure that out. We got to treat them for their mental issues, whatever those might be, and we might come out with a better person at the end of that
Okay,
process.
I understand all that. I'm
Now,
not saying you
it
agree.
might be that we don't. It might be
I'm
that
not saying that you have to agree with the justice. I'm saying, but yes, they deserve justice.
right. It's not. We don't just throw them away and give up on them.
No. I'm saying they deserve justice.
Hmm.
Okay,
And that's
so
not eternal either. I'm also against these insane lengths of time that we have.
no, but what I'm okay. Now let me ask you this: if you have a girlfriend and she doesn't love you and she don't want to be with you no more, is it fair to force her to be with you and lock her up in your house and keep her there forever?
No.
Okay, so when someone who doesn't believe in God dies, that's what God does. God says, I love you so much, I am going to let you not be in my presence no more because you don't want to be in my presence. So then they're there.
The difference between that is that girl actually got to talk to me, and I talked back, and she was able to prove that I exist in many different ways, and
There
I'm
is
unable
proof.
to do any of that for God.
But see, if
For
we're,
Yahweh.
but that's what I'm saying though. If
I
we're going to start talking
okay,
about,
this is what the girl can do to me. She can touch
no.
me.
Hold on, though. See, what
Can
I'm
I
saying
touch
though is,
if you want to make
I'm saying,
this is
I'm
a
saying,
false analogy. That's what I'm saying. That's the point. Can the
I'm
girl
saying,
can touch my nose? Can I touch God's nose?
if
No. Right? Right?
Christianity was true, if it was true,
Well, I'm not
would
positing
you
that. I'm positing that this is a bad analogy, because the
agree
girlfriend
with
that you
that?
asked me about can touch my nose. I can't touch God's nose, so these are not equivalent situations. Might have lost him again. um, yeah. Well, obviously, he thinks that we should be eternally tormented. Well, God can do that because it's okay. Yeah, exactly. You don't lock the girl in the basement and torture her. Well, no, it's that she doesn't want to be around you, so you send her to the house across the street where you don't exist and lock her in there, so that she's tormented, because it's not torture, it's tormenting. It's a difference without distinction. Um, yeah, so these analogies. Well, would you do this? with this girl or this guy. It's okay. Here we go. We're back again. Uh, okay, so the analogy is imperfect because you're talking about two different things. You're talking about humans versus something that's not human. So it's just not going. These analogies aren't going to work. What you're trying to ask is, do I view the Yahweh system is unfair? That's my stance. It is an incoherent, illogical system. Period.
So that's what I'm trying to say, though. So your stance is because you physically can't see God, therefore
What
none of that makes sense to
instead
you.
of saying what my stance is, could you ask me what my stance is?
No, I'm saying that's what your stance is. Is you physically
Could you
can't see God?
instead of saying what my stance is, could you ask me what my stance is?
No, that's what I'm saying. Though you just gave your stance. You're saying you can't physically see God, so therefore
No, I didn't.
you can't believe in Him.
I did not say that.
Now you said that a girl is actually here; she can touch your nose.
Yes.
It's the same thing. I
No,
mean,
and the analogy breaks down because the girl can do things to me that I cannot do to the God, and so the analogy that links these two is flawed and broken. Thus, the appeal to analogy is in effect. Thus, the argument's conclusion must be one we are skeptical of. This is your question, and my stance is a straw man because I never said exactly. The reason I say Yahweh cannot exist is it's an illogical being. Period. That's why Yahweh cannot be a thing because it is a square circle, essentially. That's why I object. Well, that and many other reasons. But yeah, exactly. Thank you, Yin Yang. I think we're having connection problems again. But thank you. You know what? It's been see. I don't know how long I've been at this because when he joined in, I don't know if we've been at it for an hour per se, the two of us. I'm guessing that he had connection problems. He's been having connection problems here and again. So uh, I what I so this has been an interesting thing because we're coming at this in all different angles. So uh, I suppose I'll make clear if I can, even though I've done it before, my stance on. Now, see, usually I don't actually get into arguments about Yahweh, and why I don't think Yahweh is a thing at all. Um, Usually, I try to find out my opponent's perspective and things like this. So this became more of a debate than I was hoping for, but that's okay. Fair enough. But my stance against Yahweh is something. Well, I could reduce it down to a syllogism. I haven't done it yet, but loosely, it's that if you posit a logical being that cannot be illogical, then that being can never utter anything illogical. Ad balians and appeal to bribes are illogical. Thus, that being could not be. So if God offers a reward or God offers a punishment of any sort, whether it's being with it or not being with it, however you want to frame it, it's still the same. Why is the area that's not with God one where you're tormented? Why isn't it just like a waiting room, just something you could have stuff to do? Maybe it's a water park and there's roller coasters and there's things to do that are fun. Why not give you the same experience but just without God? It does. It's a flawed system. It's not logical. But at any rate, um debate. Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, actually, I'll do an interview with you. Yin Yang Mountain will debate you. We'll set that up. I'll get with you. I'll find. I don't know if your email is on your YouTube page. My email is going to be here, deconvertedman1 at gmail.com. I'll put that in the thing. DCONVERT. Man, I can't spell my own name. This is horrible. Email me. I will set up a conversation with you and a debate with you in Yang Mountain. All right, so this was an interesting one because it started out with me trying to respond to a video, and instead I got to whoopsie. That's Pascal's baby again. Get off my screen. Instead, I actually wound up talking to the gentleman that made the video himself. I did think that his answer is a fair answer in regards to the Pascal's baby wager in one way. In his answer, and I think I'm getting this right, but I could be getting wrong, was essentially that if Christian theology is completely true, then yes, it would be true that killing babies would send them to heaven, but you're not permitted the option of doing that. Now, in my video, I go on to then say, well, why wouldn't we just get an atheist to do it then? And then the Christian kind of is scot-free. But I think, again, they would simply say, well, you're not allowed to set up that sort of system or something like that. And I think that's a fair response because, again, it's not meant to be an unsolvable paradox or anything like that because I don't think those are fair, but it's meant to be a thought experiment. And at least it got him to think a bit and to have a conversation. So I think that's a good thing. But so I'm going to go ahead and see what I can set up for him as far as doing a proper interview because, like I said, we kind of wound up just debating here, and I don't, I prefer to just ask questions in my interviews and not do a debate. I mean, we could do a debate later, but I think I'd rather have Yin Yang debate them, to be honest. So, at any rate, thanks for listening. If you have however long you've been tuned in, and we've hit the hour mark, so that's usually when I end these things, anyways. I didn't do the video, but that's okay. This was a whole different. This became a thing. It's a thing. This is a thing that happened. So enjoy. And if you did, I'm going to tell you to do the thing. You're not going to do it probably because I don't know why you're not going to do it. Maybe you just don't want to because you don't love it. But anyways, after this is done being a stream, it will appear on YouTube. Refresh the page a few times, and then the comment section will appear. You can type anything. Say penguins, lobsters, purple. It doesn't matter. Type in random characters, whatever. Hit enter, hit send, and then that will help YouTube algorithms know that I exist, and maybe then people will find me rather than Grr all the time. And then like the video and share it and hit the bell and all that YouTube stuff that we're supposed to do that we don't do, and none of you will do it anyways. I know not one of you in chat's gonna do it. You're not gonna do it. Yin Yang Mountain, Christian Apologist isn't gonna do it. Fictional and Proverbs Ministry and Truth isn't gonna do it. That name is hard to say. Nobody is gonna do it. None of you are. Lobsters everywhere. Then mental meltdown at the end because that's what you were all waiting for. Maybe I don't know anymore. What am I doing with my life? Thanks for listening again. I said that already. Email me. I don't know. And then I'm safe then. Okay. Good. Okay. So yeah, we'll get a hold of the thing. Okay. I hit the button. Hit the button, idiot. Don't call me an idiot. That's not nice. You are an idiot. Who are you? I'm your director. You sound exactly like me. Just hit the button. No, you can't make me hit the button. I want to hit the button. You hit the button. Hit the button. Stop it. Oh, I'm still on. Didn't hit the button. I guess I'll hit the button. But not because you told me to. Send help.